Good morning everyone, and welcome to another video. So I've just been to Rome, and I came back this morning, and I am of course kind of tired. I spent 5 days in and outside of Rome trying to get some scans, and I did find a lot of locations, a lot of places that I'm very happy about, and I am looking forward to see what they're going to look like. I'm going to do a scan reveal, I call it. So I'm just going to do, I'm going to show you the process, which I always do when I come back from a trip like this. I try to sort all my photos, export a JPEG series, and do a fast scan in reality capture, just to see if I nailed it or not. And I will go through all of these that I did, and I will show some in a little bit more detail and some maybe a little bit just faster. But I hope you think this is interesting. I'm super curious to see how my scans turned out, if they succeeded or not. And this first one here is called the Temple of Apollo. It's inside of Rome. And it took me almost the whole day to scan it because the weather was so horrible. And as I rifled through it here, I think it is a success, but I pretty much had to stop every 5 minutes because the rain became too bad, and I had to wipe off the lens continuously, or else it would just you would get these tiny droplets. And I can see I have droplets on some of them, and they may or may not ruin the image, but it's almost impossible to avoid. The good thing with photographing in the rain is that there's no people there, because if the sun would have been shining, it would have been equally as bad. But okay, all of these photos are absolutely usable, so I'm going to export them. But this one in particular consists of two sets. So one 24mm and then one set taken at 70mm. Now I sometimes do that if it's a tall object like this. I try to take double sets with two lenses and hope that they will blend together in reality capture. I'll quickly show you that workflow as well. It's actually quite easy, but sometimes you succeed and sometimes you don't. Export is done. Let's import a folder. So when you are in reality capture, I'm using the default settings. I find the default settings are pretty good, and unless you run into any problems, you don't really need to fiddle with any other settings. So let's import the first folder here. Go to the location, the 24mm one, and select it. There we go. And now the moment of truth. Just going to hit the Align Images button. Well, we see. This might take a bit. Either pause it here or I will speed it up. I think it can be interesting to see how long it takes to do this. It doesn't take very long for me to do this. My machine is pretty fast, and I think reality capture is very efficient. So I don't find the waiting times, even for very, very complex scenes, is anything crazy. We're not talking days or anything for a very complex scene. It's more like a couple of hours. And then I'm talking about like 10,000 photos and things like that. Okay, there we go. Finished in 1 minute 13 seconds. That's not bad. Well, let's see. All right. I think it's a success. It has everything. Well, you can see immediately that the backside is of course going to be a problem. I knew that going into it, but it's the same for pretty much all of these ruins in Rome. They are fenced in, so I got a fence going here. You can see where my cameras are, and if I could only jump the fence there, run in. But I don't want to be banned from the city of Rome. Not sure if here would be a huge fine for doing anything like that, but there are signs everywhere that if you break the rules, there's a heavy fine. So it's not something I want to do. But I figured it's actually not that complicated of a model that I could fill in the back. Just have to steal parts from the front here and put it in the back. So I will do that. It takes extra time, of course, but still. a new scene, go to workflow, import the folder, and images 70mm, and there we go. Now these ones with the long lens are generally much harder to nail down, so there are no guarantees here. We have to see. Because you need to have this coverage where you go like 1/3 of the image has to be the same as the other one, at least. Even more overlap is good sometimes. And it's really hard when you're using something as a long lens like 70mm. It can be quite tricky. You might miss a spot here and there because you move it a little bit too far. There we go. 2 minutes 23 seconds. And it looks like it's holding up. I think I got it. You can see the pattern I had. I really tried to find every little nook and cranny where I could get to. So I started way up here on the ramp. And I went down the ramp. And this is the circus there. And you see I had to go into the alcoves to protect myself from the rain all the time. So just fast, taking a couple of shots here, in, wipe the lens out, and then I went around. So yeah, it was a tricky shoot. And then here was a bit of a labyrinth. I had to walk around, and then I could find a spot up here. I'm happy those got solved as well. It actually solved all 284 cameras, so that's very impressive. And this is going to help me a lot. See here that I found this spot really fills in the background of it here. So that's already there, going to make it a lot easier. Very thankful for that. Okay, well, let's see if they will be glued together then. So in order to do that, we go to export and export reality capture alignment component. Make a new folder and call it components. So Roman ruins Apollo GGHI 70mm component. That's going to work fine. Let's make sure we are in the component thing. Folder. There we go. Save. And I'm also going to save this scene. Save as. And this one will be the 70mm version. Let's open the other one again, the 24mm version. And go to import component. Like so. Now you can see here to the left we got component 0 is the 24mm, and here we got the 70. So you can see they look very different as it is. But we're going to hit this merge components button and cross our fingers that it's going to work. There we have it. 2 minutes 13 seconds, and it looks like we got it. 471 images aligned, and it's looking nice. Look at that. And how often when I see this, I just wish I scanned the whole area. It would be so cool to have the whole thing, but it would take forever. This, like I said, took most of the day because of all the rain. But luckily, just up here outside, right about here, there is a very, very nice cafe. Got some excellent Cafe Lungo there, so I could just sit there, wait out the rain. Because there was like a proper rain, like a winter storm kind of rain for a minute there, or maybe an hour. And I really like spending all this time, hours upon hours, among the ruins, and you really get focused and you notice every detail, and it's very immersive. Anyways, let's see if we can turn this into a mesh then. So let's move on to mesh model, set construction region. I'm going to hit save in this scene as well. so we're safe. And let's frame up what we want. I quite often get a bit too greedy with how much I want to include. My plan was for only having this, and that's probably what I should stick to as well, because this area here, even though now I'm thinking, that would be nice, it's just gonna cause problems for me, so I'm gonna cut it off there. Okay, so the reconstruction in high detail is finished. It clocks in at 70 million triangles, which is actually a little bit on the low side, but there we go. Also, you can see it is quite good. Get a good view all the way around here, so I'm not unhappy with the results. It's definitely usable. You can also see up here, this is something reality capture does. It has a big problem with identifying when you get like a white sky or a blue sky or something like that. It just doesn't want to interpret it as anything, so it all blooms out. It's especially a problem when you're doing trees. It becomes a huge mess up here, and I wish that there could be a way around that, but it's because I don't have a closed hole on top here. If there would be images here to seal the hole, this would disappear, but fortunately I don't have that. Still not a problem, just gotta cut that away and we're good to go. So there's gonna be a lot of pruning to do, as you can see, just a lot of these sculpted away. It's a little bit like a 3D print, where you get all kinds of supports and everything, and you really have to do some cleaning up. So this is only the beginning. But also, let's see what it looks like with a bit of texturing on. So what I like to do, I don't do the complete texturing. I'm just going to hit the colorize button. Now that's going to be a lot faster. It's already done. It took less than 10 minutes actually. So that's the power of just using the colorize function. Now it is not going to be full resolution on the images, and 70 million polys is too little to give you everything you want, but I can see already what it's going to look like in the end, and I'm happy with this result. It's coming out much better than I was hoping for. You can see up here got a lot of detail at the top, and this is thanks to the 70 millimeter camera there. This would be very fuzzy otherwise. So okay, let's take a look at the rest of them. So I scanned about 24 different objects. The first one here is the Arch of Drusus, which sits at the beginning of the Appian Way, which is a fantastic hike that I did going out from Rome into the countryside. And along there's lots of old tombs and buildings. So let's see. It requires a lot of work. I can see that immediately. And at the time, the sun was peeking out. And then there's nothing you can do. If there's sun for the rest of the day, you have problems. Hopefully, I can paint this out, bring it down so it looks all the same. But it does require some kind of hard work to get that going. But luckily, it's supposed to be ruin, which makes all these things so much easier because you can just trash it up a bit. But this is without the textures then. So you can see, even if you don't get any usable textures, this is still workable. There is enough detail here that I could texture this from scratch in Substance Painter or something similar. So now I'm into the Appian Way, and along the way there's lots of these little tombs here. So it's not always about scanning the big epic ones. You need a lot of kind of like interesting filler stuff. So this, I think pretty much everything along the Appian Way is like tombs for older rich people. So I am going to show all of the objects that I scanned and talk about the problems and if they're usable or not. So this was actually the first one I did when I started the Appian Way. So you never know what you're going to find when you embark on a trip like this. So you got to start scanning immediately, or else you start getting too picky, and you might end up not doing anything, and then the whole day has passed. So at least get something for safety, so you have something when you come back home. Here we have a tomb/temple, and it's a little bit more fancy than the previous one, so I guess somebody had a lot of money to spend on this. And it would be a combination of a temple and a tomb, so you will go up here, maybe light some candles and stuff for the man. And there should be somebody buried underneath here that's not been excavated yet. That's what I read. A lot of these buildings in Rome was made out of brick, and then you got the Roman cement underneath to prop it up. However, this one of course creates some problems for me as well. The whole top there, I can't reach it, so I'm gonna have to figure out how that's gonna be. Gotta sculpt it by hand. And as I walked around, for some reason I did miss a part. Oh, it's about 429 million polygons, so it's kind of sluggish to move around. Let's see if we can do it here. Yeah, you can see I missed a part here. For some reason I didn't seem to be continuing on there, which is a bit strange, but maybe I was getting tired. And also when I climbed up here, I should have probably pointed the camera down to get the ground. But I'm not going to use this ground anyways. It's going to be smoothed out, and we're going to put some CG grass there, some models and things. So yeah, I have high hopes for this one. It's going to look very cool, but it does require a lot of work removing the skies. I wish there would be a function where it didn't end up looking like this, because you can see the vertices are not exactly there. I have no good solution how to avoid this kind of thing. Another tomb, and it's kind of similar to the previous one, but of course a different shape, but the same kind of problems where this part here is going to have to be fixed, and it's also got an interior here that I got to put a lot of work into to get working. So I couldn't get in here because it's locked with a gate. I could point the camera in a bit to get just a tiny bit, which helped with the solve here. But yeah, now it's gonna be a lot of work to get this going. But once it's done, I think it will look pretty cool. Here we have the Tomb of Rabiria, it's called. It's named after this guy in the middle here, but I think all three might be buried underneath this tomb. It's a very different looking tomb than the other ones. More like you would expect a Roman tomb to look like, perhaps. Now I think this is a little bit of a Frankenstein's monster here, so I think some parts of this is new, reconstructed, and then they try to puzzle the pieces in that they found here. So I'm not sure what to do with that. I'm gonna handle it. It looks a little bit odd, I think. All these pieces here looks a bit mismatched. And of course, got the usual problem there. But it was an easy scan, just a couple of laps around. That is my standard scan. I go one lap around at the mid height, holding the camera around the chest height. And then one where I get as low as possible and just point the camera up. You can see if I click one of these, trying to get this kind of an angle. That helps a lot with filling in the gaps underneath. Oops. The arch tomb, named because it's an arch. So I think I got most of the details from this one in here, and I think it's a cool looking object. And what you can see here, I needed to, in order to get in here, I needed to take a lot of pictures from different angles here. It's always good to try to figure out some kind of a system when you take these images. And also to always move your feet a little bit, because it's easy to just stand on one spot here and then try to take an image like there, and just move the camera a little bit. But I always try to take one step to the side, back, front, up, down a little bit, that kind of thing, to create the parallax necessary to get a good solve out of this. So you got to think like a boxer, just use your feet, got to think of the footwork. This tomb was one of the first ones I scanned and was a bit of a chance. I didn't know what I would find further down the line, and I'm not sure it's going to work out. It's maybe a bit too much missing on the side here. Could probably sculpt it in, but not sure if it's worth it. I think there's something cool about it, and it might fit in a dense forest, so I'll see, but it's not going to be a priority of mine. That's good to have. Here we have some marble pieces covered in moss that I found along the way, and I think they would be very useful. It's not as glamorous as a big tomb, of course, but you need all these kind of small objects as well. It's easy to get away from a shoot like this and just have epic buildings because it's what you want to shoot, but you got to think of the whole scene. It's got to be filled up with all kinds of stuff. Some more mossy pieces with an absolutely lovely texture of moss and lichen. I also tried to find a couple of mossy weathered statues out there. This is one of them. Now there are some things I should probably remove, like this thing here. I think it's a modern thing to keep this slab of marble connected to the back piece here. Another mossy statue filled with lichen. And here's a relief of some important Romans, probably a tomb as well. But not everything is a tomb. It could also be that these are important salesmen or something that on your way into Rome they want you to visit their merchant quarters, their store or something like that. Here we have a sepulchre. And this one was, of course, quite problematic. The sun was peeking out slowly, but it was shaded by some trees, so I thought I could get away with it. But there was no way for me to get on into the sides here. It was just thorns and stinging nettles, so I had to stop right around here. You can see there what it looks like. But I thought I might be able to do something with this anyways. And like I said, it's a ruin, so you can trash it as much as you want. And even like this, where you think you're not going to get as much detail, you get quite a lot to work with. But I think the facade here is kind of cool looking. Along the road you got these epigraphs as well. Sometimes it's for a tomb, and sometimes it's marketing as well. I know there are some that says come and buy my fantastic olive oil in the shop at blah blah blah. So it's like get these marketing billboards along the way as well. Another relief sunken down in the ground here. So it is important to know how many of these cameras you actually need to get the full scan. It's something that comes with experience, because you could easily just keep on taking images and then you would be standing there for the whole day and get like 1,000 images, which might increase the quality, but it might also decrease the quality, because when you're outside working like this, you also have to think about the weather, and if the weather is changing and it takes too long, you could start out photographing this when it's cloudy, and then by the end of it it's going to be sunny, and then it has to blend between sunny and cloudy, and it can look really weird. So it is a good idea to get it finished as soon as possible without losing any quality. And as you can see with these here, there's nothing lost. I get everything that I want, so I don't need more cameras than this. And it ended up being only 79 images for this whole thing here. And a lot of them was taken here because I needed to get into the crevices here. But there is nothing that I missed anywhere. I get full resolution everywhere, so... Oh, maybe here. Oh, it looks good as well. Is there a snail? Jesus. Okay. See? Get every detail in there. After Appian Way, I went to Ostia Antica, which is a really, really fantastic place. Just 40 minutes southwest of Rome, very close to the airport actually, and it's a completely abandoned Roman city with so much things that you could easily spend many days there. So I walked around like forever, and I found a few objects that I wanted to scan. I wish I could have scanned more, but I was running out of time. But here I got some pillars at least, with some nice details there. There are some absolutely lovely mosaic floors to be found in this city, and this was one of the more spectacular ones. So you got these two pillars leading into a small courtyard, and I wanted to try to see if I could scan it. It's not always easy to get a good scan of something that's on the ground. Sometimes the reality capture struggles with the reconstruction. It can easily become a bit fuzzy, but I think I really got it here. So the technique used then, it's only I take everything from pretty much the same height, and then I just walk in a, it's a very heavy scene actually. I think it clocks in at 500 million polygons this, so it's very sluggish to maneuver. And of course I need to paint out the shadow. There's nothing you can do when the sun is out. It's what you have to play with. Didn't go this way because you can see how the shadow is here. You don't want your own shadow taking up majority of your of the shot, so that will interfere too much with the reconstruction. So I had to skip going this way because the shadow would just end up in the frame, which didn't look good. So I had to be careful with that. But it's still enough of a pattern here to create a full reconstruction. Let's zoom in and see what it looks like here. Some kind of hunter here. Yeah, so this is a great scan. I'm definitely going to use it. I did take these pillars here. These are quite unique. You don't see these screw cork pillars. Don't know the exact name of these, but they're very uncommon. So yeah, very cool scan. Looking forward to working with this one. Here we have an altarpiece in Ostia Antica, and I just knew right away I had to scan this one. Look at the incredible detail here, and it's also completely free of obstructions, so I can get a scan from all angles completely done. And this is going to speed up things so much. This one's going to be prepared in less than a couple of hours, maybe 3-4 hours. Just cut this out, delight it a bit, and that's it. So that's amazing. So, of course, it was a little bit tricky here on the back side here, but I got a full complete solve anyways. Just taking a lot of pictures close, very close to each other, and you can see I got everything is in there. Every little thing, almost nothing is missed. Every little tiny crack. So yes, I'm very happy with this one. And you got Romulus and Remus here. Most buildings in Rome was constructed with brick, so not everything was made of this marble, or not even most of it. Probably like 99% was constructed with something like this. So I got this little area here, and I'm mainly going to use it for extracting displaced textures. So I'm going to try to find something here where I can make tileable textures of. But this ones I might even try to use as objects as well. Maybe I can get something out of that. Sometimes it's easier to place an object there than to texture things. So will probably be both, but mainly it was taken for creating textures. And here's another type of brick texture where they have these square laid out on the diagonal, so that's also going to turn into a texture, this. But I got all the detail I wanted from this. Here we have another brick texture, same one as before, but covers a bigger area, so it's going to be even easier to extract textures from this. Yeah, did it even simpler here, just walked back and forth a couple of times and shot it from a few different angles. It works fine. I don't feel I missed anything here either. It's going to be a very good displaced texture, I think. Okay, that was the scan reveal. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I think it's one of the highlights of doing this is coming back home and just getting the first scans out and looking at them in reality capture like this and see if you got it or not. And more often than not, you actually get it. You get something and you go like, yeah, it's pure happiness. So this is a little bit why I want to do in the future. I was taking stock of what I actually like with 3D and whatnot. And the thing that I always enjoyed is doing this photogrammetry. Sculpting and photogrammetry. It's like the most fun things to do. And for me, just being out in these places and taking the photos, it just feels like the perfect way of life. So I'm going to be starting working on these, getting them into Unreal Engine, and I'm going to make tutorials along the way, so you see exactly how it's going. So my plan for making these kind of tutorials is I don't want to make it like necessarily like a step-by-step tutorial in the old-fashioned way. Maybe I try to make it slightly a bit more conversational. So I will take an object and show you exactly how I do it from start to finish. And since they're kind of similar, but they all have different problems, I'm going to repeat the process for different things. Like my first tutorial is going to be about a Roman ruined piece. So I start as simple as humanly possible, just to show you how the workflow is from start to finish. And then we go up in difficulty, where you need to repair stuff, how to handle repairs, how to do this scans where you combine multiple cameras, and maybe even combining drones with cameras, that kind of thing. And how do you approach something that's got missing stuff? How would we sculpt this? Because like I said, it's 99% of everything you scan is going to have things missing in it. It's only when you're in a very controlled environment, at home or in a museum, where you can elevate the object and get the underside and everything, then you're done in a day, if even that. But once you're out doing adventure scanning, you're going to have to work around a lot of problems. Not only rain, sun, all kinds of things that are obscuring the object. Could be the world's coolest object, but then there's a big tree here, and the leaves are kind of blending in with the sculpture, and you want to get rid of that. And we can do it. Just takes a little bit of time and effort. So with that said, I hope you enjoy this kind of content, and like and subscribe, and I'll see you around next time.